Hello guys, once again welcome back to another Android Studio tutorial. Today we are going to learn about Firebase Job Dispatcher. From Android Oreo onwards, there is strict limitations in execution of background service. So in one of the previous video, we already learned about how to use the framework Job Scheduler API to schedule a background job. But the problem is the framework Job Scheduler available from API 21 and above. So if your app targeting lower than API 21, then you can go for Firebase Job Dispatcher, because Firebase Job Dispatcher is available from API 9 and above. So by using Firebase Job Dispatcher, you can target more devices. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to use Firebase Job Dispatcher for scheduling a background job. The only thing need Google Play service, because the Firebase Job Dispatcher using Google Play service for executing the background service. So now we can start with a new Android Studio project. So create a new Android Studio project. I name the application as Firebase Job Dispatcher Demo. Select empty activity, click finish. So here the project is created. First we can add Firebase Job Dispatcher to this Android Studio project. Search for Firebase Job Dispatcher, go to the GitHub page. Here is the dependency. Now open Gradle file, open module level Gradle file. The dependency is here, and sync project. Now the project sync finishes successfully. So we successfully added Firebase Job Dispatcher to this Android Studio project. So first we can create the UI of the application. So first I'm going to change this one into a linear layout. So there is no need of this text to view. So for the linear layout, we have to specify an orientation. I specify the orientation into vertical. So now here I am going to add a button, specify width into match parent, height into wrap content. Now specify a label on the button, start job. Now specify margin for the button, layout margin. I need 55 dp. Now create an on-click method for the button. I specify the on-click method as start job. So this button is for start the background operation. Now I'm going to create another button here for stop the background job. Specify the text into stop job. This is for stopping the background job. Now we need to implement these two methods inside main activity. So here I implement the first method. Now here I implement the second method. So now the two methods are available inside main activity. So for using Firebase Job Dispatcher, you have to create a separate service. So for executing the background job, you have to create a separate service. Here I name the class as my service, and this class extends Firebase Job Dispatcher job service. So here you need to implement two methods. The first method is on start job and second method is onStopJob. These two are the necessary methods to working with Firebase Job Dispatcher service. So here I implement the needed two methods. So you can place your job within the onStartJob method, and here is another method called onStopJob. If the job is interrupted before completion, the system will call this method. So if you want to reschedule the failed job, you can return true from it. So here, if the job is failed, I have to retry that job again. So I am going to return true from this method. So here, this method, the onStartJob, you can place your job within this method. Here the return type of this method is Boolean. So if your job is very short, then you can place your job directly within this method. And in that case, if your job is very short, you can return false from this method. Because the Firebase Job service using the system main UI thread for its execution. If your background job is a long running one, then it is not a good programming practice to place a long running task on the main thread. This will cause your application to not responding. Suppose here our background job is a big one, that means a long running one. So in such situation, it is better to run that background job on a separate thread. So if you run your background job on a separate thread, you have to return true from this method. So here I return true from this method. That means my job is running on a separate thread. So here I am going to use a separate thread. Before going to create the job, here we create a service. So we have to add the service to the manifest file. So open manifest, open Android manifest.xml, and within the application tag, here we have to specify that service, specify the service name, and here specify an indent filter. Now here you need to specify an action for the indent filter. Now you will get the action from the GitHub page. Here is the action name, Job Dispatcher action execute, and specify the action name here. Okay, so suppose our job need an internet connection. So here I need the internet permission, users permission, internet. Now go back to the service. So now we can specify the service. So here the service is a long running one, so I have to use a separate background thread. So for that, here I am going to create another class. I name the class as background task. That class extends async task. And here specify the generic type. For convenience, here I pass void for all the generic type. Implement one method, doInBackground method. I know there is advanced technologies like RX Android is available for executing asynchronous task. So for training purpose, here I am going to use async task. Of course, you can use RX Android. So here we can execute the job inside doInBackground method, because the async task has a separate background thread for executing the job. The doInBackground method execute on a separate thread. So from this method, here I am going to return a simple string. So here the return value is hello from background job. So here the result is a string value. So here the generic type is string. So here we create our background job. Now go back to the service. So here I am going to create an object of the background task class. Now from this onStartJob method, we can specify the here I am going to override another lifecycle method of async task. So we can initialize that object here, a new background task. Here I am going to override on post execute method. So we got the result of the async task here. So this method execute on main thread. So from here I'm going to display the message using a toast. Get application context. Message from background task. And here the message is available on these variables yes. Now specify the length of the toast and finally show that toast. Okay, so here we use an async task for executing the background job. So here the background job return a simple string value and the string value available on the onPostExecute method, and here we display that string using a toast. So if you use a separate thread for executing your background job, you have to call one method called job finished. So for this method you have to pass two parameters. First one is the job parameter. It is available as a parameter here, so you have to pass that one. And second one is a boolean value. If you want to reschedule the same job again, you can return true, otherwise you can return false. So here I'm going to use false. So here we use a separate background thread for executing your job. So in such situation you must call this method, otherwise the system assumes that your job is still running in the background. That means there is a Firebase Job Dispatcher process always running in the background. That will cause the battery to drain fast. So if you return true from this method, if you return true from this onStartJob method, you have to call this method, otherwise it will drain the battery fast because there is a waste process running in the background. Okay, that's it. So now our job is ready. One more thing, so here we create the background job on the async task. Now we need to execute that task. So background task dot execute. Okay, so now we can start the background job. So go to main activity. So here I'm going to create some variables first. Driver static, final string, job tag, I name it as my tag, my job tag, that is better. Okay, so now create some variables for Firebase Job Dispatcher. I name it as Job Dispatcher. Now initialize that variable from here. So Job Dispatcher, new Firebase Job Dispatcher. Here you need to pass one parameter. It is a Google Play driver, and pass the context. Now we can specify the job here from the onStartJob method. From the startJob method we can specify the job. So create some variables for Firebase Job Dispatcher job, Job Dispatcher, new job builder. Now here we can specify the job parameters. So set service, specify the service class name. Here the service class name is my service. set lifetime into true. Sorry, here you need to pass another parameter forever. That means I want this job to be repeated to the lifetime of the application. So now set recurring into true. That means I need the job to be repeated. Now set the tag for the job. It is available on this variable job tag. Yes, job tag. Now we can specify the time of execution and the interval of execution. So you can use this method set trigger dot execution window. So I want to start the job within 10 seconds and I need to repeat the job in every 15 seconds. Now set retry strategy default exponential. Set replace current into false. And finally we can call the build method. So now the job is ready. Now we can execute it. For that we have to call the job dispatcher dot master schedule and pass the job. Sorry, before going to build, suppose our job need some network connections, so we can use that one. Set constraint I think it is constraint. Yes, it is constraint. Constraint don't on any network. Okay, so now our job is ready. We execute the job here. So now if you want to cancel the job, you have to call this method. To call a particular task, you can call this method job dispatcher dot cancel and you have to pass the job ID. If you want to cancel all the jobs, then you can call this method cancel all. So here we can call this method job dispatcher dot cancel. So job dispatcher dot cancel and pass the job ID, job type. And here we can display some message to the user. Job cancelled. After schedule the job, we can display some message. Job is scheduled. Okay, now the application is finished. Now we can test it. Okay, now we can test our application. So this is an Android virtual device running on Android Oreo. Because from Oreo onwards, there is strict limitations on execution of background service. So now we can test our application on Android Oreo device. So run it, select that virtual device. Now the application available on this virtual device. Now here I am going to schedule the job. So start it. Now the job is scheduled. Now I remove the application from the foreground. So after 10 seconds of installation, the job is going to start. We can wait for 10 seconds. Now here the job is executed. Now we can wait for another 50 seconds. Now from from now onwards, the job is going to repeat in every 15 seconds. Now here the job is executed for the second time. Now it is going to repeat in every 15 seconds. Now we can stop the job. So open the application and stop the job. Now the job is cancelled. So this is how we use Firebase Job Dispatcher for scheduling a background job. I hope you understand all these concepts. For getting more Android tutorial updates, please subscribe this channel now. Thank you for watching. See you in the next episode.